All right, so I'm here to tell you about a project that I'm working on. I'm a front-end developer for a distributed application called Alexandria. And I want to start by kind of giving an overview of why we decided to build a distributed immutable library. We noticed that there is a problem with censorship on the internet, and it happens in every way from homogenization of the narrative that's being told through the mainstream media, and it's happening via deleting content off of the internet, from YouTube via DMCA takedown notices, and from Twitter, same thing, takedown notices, and individuals, politicians and things, deleting tweets that they regret. So the way that we started working on Alexandria was to start archiving tweets, and this was about 1.5 years ago, and we essentially, let me tell you a little bit about the back end of how Alexandria works. We use a blockchain, it's called the Florincoin blockchain, and we write metadata to the blockchain via various APIs that we've written. And then, what's that? Oh, Florincoin. It's a 2-year-old fork of Litecoin, so it's a script coin. It allows for 520 bytes of data per transaction, as opposed to Bitcoin's 80. So it gives us this extra space to be able to write metadata. So with the Twitter API that we built, any user can go and create an archive of tweets based on a keyword or a user, and the Twitter API is then recorded to the blockchain and whatever matches. And we created a word cloud that allows people to browse through this, and you can change the timeline to see how the tweets about a specific subject have kind of changed over time. And those tweets are forever stored on the blockchain and viewable from our front end. All of this is going to be open source very soon. So we worked on that for a few months and got it all working, and then decided that we wanted to turn our focus towards media distribution, towards YouTube and SoundCloud, and all of these different websites that operate on servers, which are a central point of failure and can be attacked in all sorts of ways. And that's how we ended up with the alpha that we have now, which is what you see on the screen. Now, the way that this is designed to work is any user can publish anything, and so they create their publisher, which essentially creates their Florincoin address, ties it to any media that they publish moving forward. And when they decide to publish media, you can publish movies, videos, music, podcasts, books, recipes, 3D printable objects. Any of this, any type of media. It can be MP4s, it can be MP3s, it can be WAV files, PDFs, websites, all of that. So we have typical form that you fill out just like any other website where you're publishing something, and all of the metadata that's put into this description is written to the Florincoin blockchain in a way to create an index. And that index is searchable, and it's stored locally on any of the computers that are running the Alexandria daemon. And yeah, it just froze up. So it'll go in a second. So then included in that metadata is a hash that points to the IPFS DHT. And if you saw Juan's talk about IPFS, then you have an understanding of the importance of it and how it works. Essentially, we've built a front end that allows for publishing to IPFS easily and indexing and searching of that content, so that it's all browsable. So I'm going to switch over to our web gateway version, since that one's working. And this is content that has been published already by some of our alpha testers. And I'll show you, hopefully this will work. We were having some bandwidth issues because IPFS is pretty intense on the bandwidth. So the text that you're seeing on the screen is coming from the blockchain. It's put into a SQLite database that runs in the back. And then the media is embedded straight off of the IPFS DHT. Now, let's see if I can get any of these media artifacts to work. Okay, well, the benefit to using a cryptocurrency and a blockchain for the metadata, the other part of it, and the reason that people create their publisher accounts is to monetize any of the content in a peer-to-peer way. So we've removed middle people from not only the publishing and the server aspect of it, but also from the payments. So now any artist, any content creator can publish anything that they want, and they can be paid directly from their fans via a couple of options. One that we have is a pay what you want wall, and this is just part of our front end. So you can see they get Bitcoin or Florin coin. We've also built a trade API so that if you have Bitcoin and you want to pay with Bitcoin, but the publisher wants to get paid in Florin coin, then they can do that. The other option that we've chosen to monetize with is IPFS's currency that is Filecoin, and that allows for any user to open up part of their hard drive to store these files. So we've incentivized the storage and the permanency of the files in that way so that the media gets propagated throughout the network. It's much more difficult to remove, more decentralized, and it streams much faster. This image is part of the IPFS media, and we have trailers as well. The bandwidth is really killing it here. So there's also tipping options. So if you don't want to do the pay what you want wall, then you can still collect tips on anything that you publish. And we'll also have comments that you can put into the Florin coin blockchain. And again, if you want to pay with Bitcoin and leave a comment, tip with Bitcoin and leave a comment, the trade API will take care of that. Because we can't put the comments on the Bitcoin blockchain, but it works on the Florin coin blockchain. Let's see, maybe this one will work. Yeah, it's running very slow. All right, well, have you guys ever heard of Who Killed Captain Alex? It's Uganda's first action film. It was made for about $2,000. It's all like After Effects. It's very cool. It's been published on here. We have several other content creators, musicians, a lot of hip hop artists, which is kind of fun, who are starting to publish on the platform. So right now we're at alpha. And we're working towards a beta, at which point we'll release the code. And we have a roadmap on our website, which is BlockTech.com. And you can see version numbers and what we plan on doing with everything here. So our goal for the first beta is to open source the code and to create this distributed library that is persistent and unalterable. Since it's all open source, the front end that we're using is what we'll be distributing, but anyone can take it, they can fork it, they can make it so that if you are a publisher and you want to have an app, and this is Node WebKit, so it's very easy to fork it and build your own app, you can build an app where it only shows the content that you have published, and then you distribute that, and now you have your own decentralized distribution platform for publishing any of your media, any of your content. And like I said, it works for movies, for music. We've got PDFs, we've got HTML working. So that's how we do recipes and things. It's all made possible because of IPFS. We originally started working with the mainline DHT, with the BitTorrent DHT, and we ran into all sorts of latency problems and just major issues with it. When Juan showed us IPFS, we all just lost our shit and decided like that was the way to go. And we have not looked back since. It's really been spectacular. So we also have sharing options via links. It's a hash, and you can share that with anyone. And when they're in Alexandria, they can go to any destination. On the web gateway, you can do it just via the URL. And then we also have a modal to help people who need that UI. Theoretically, that will start playing at some point. It's loud, so we'll know. So yeah, the APIs are also open source, and we fully expect any interested developers to kind of fork this, do what they want. And in that way, because it's all of the media is going on the blockchain, it's all public, anyone can look at it. It can't even be censored by a front end because there's just no way to take it out of IPFS or out of the blockchain aside from crashing the networks entirely. So our motivation for this was really free speech and to give everyone the opportunity to publish anything that they want and make it searchable, browsable, and streamable, all from within our app through the web gateway or from any fork that anyone decides to make using the protocols and the APIs that we've built. So eventually we're going to reincorporate the Twitter API, hopefully by version 0.6 here. And we've also expanded it to work with any API for content. So we're kind of seeing it now as a decentralized Wayback Machine. And we've been talking to the Internet Archive quite a bit and other organizations that are excited about the permanency, the openness of it, as well as the potential for activist groups to use this. We've seen a lot of organizations such as Anti-War and Cop Block and well, just, I mean, the list just goes on. Different groups that have had their YouTube accounts closed, have had their YouTube videos taken down, had their Twitter accounts closed. There was a group called Politwhoops that was recently shut down, and they were archiving tweets tweets of politicians in a way that was using a server, and they had their servers shut down entirely. So that was our initial kind of target audience on that. And lately we've been talking to a lot more professional content creators, filmmakers and musicians, and really getting a lot of excitement going to build that aspect of the library. So our next goal is to make it more easy to publish, because right now we have these different pieces. We have the library daemon, we've got the IPFS daemon, and then we've got the front end. And it all, unless you're going through the web gateway, it's all required in order to publish something, in order to make payments. So we'll be streamlining that and make it a lot easier. I'm sure anyone in this room could figure out how to do it pretty easily. And I invite you to, if you go to BlockTech.com, you can download the alpha, which is this app that's running here, and it's running again. I can switch it over to local mode, and then it will be going through, and this should be faster. Now, instead of going through the IPFS gateway, and it's just going through IPFS that's running on my machine. And the last time I ran IPFS on my machine while we were live streaming, it kind of fucked up the live stream, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, that kind of sums it all up. There's the tipping options. All of these, the publisher has the option on how much they want to choose for each option for publisher for tipping. This one's 50 cents, $1, $2. Right now it's all in USD, the denominations, but we will be expanding that as well. And then they can do custom. So let's see if this music will play. Nope. All right, I think that kind of sums it up. So if anyone has any questions. Magnus? Because Florincoin allows up many more bits per transaction. So in Bitcoin you have 80, and in Florincoin you have 520, I believe it is. And then we, because you still can't fit like most YouTube descriptions or like a PGP signature or something into that limited amount, our API actually splits up the submission into up to 10 transactions. So now we're talking about what, like 5 megabytes per submission, and then the front end just pulls all that, puts it into the database, ties it all together, and makes it. Yeah, what's up, Thomas?
So basically, this all sounds perfect, but the problem you get into my question would be, how does this scale? So each comment, each tip becomes blockchain, and basically any account, any user must keep the index of the whole internet or of the whole content.
Sure, yeah, they keep the SQLite database that has all of the media that's been published, and it will become rather large. So that is a question that we've been asking ourselves, and it's really a question of cryptocurrencies and blockchains in general. I personally still see a lot of problems with the scalability of blockchains. But when it comes to a public database and a store of information that anyone can go and just look at, because that's the other thing about this, you can go look at the Block Explorer and see these transactions, and in them, in each transaction there is the IPFS hash. And so even if we did create any kind of filter on the front end that would block out certain content, or if the front end ceases to exist, people can still go look at the block explorer and see the actual transactions, and you can find it that way. So that was really important to us to have that public ledger, that public database of all of this information, and the blockchain is at this point the best way to do that. But there is a scalability problem.
First of all, this is pretty cool stuff. I read about it.
Thank you.
Do I need money or coins in order to upload stuff?
There is a transaction fee. It's a miner's fee, just like any cryptocurrency. That's an anti-spam measure, primarily, but also just inherent in cryptocurrencies and blockchains. So it's like less than a cent at this point. Yeah, so it's 0.02 florin coin or something. Mm-hmm. Did you have another question?
Yes, another question about the user management. So is this also handled in the blockchain?
The user management? Yes.
You can never delete your user account.
Well, your user account is it's a cryptocurrency address, and so it's a key pair. And your public key is tied to anything that you publish, and you can only publish via the private key. So you have that cryptographic signature happening, and that's very important as far as the monetization especially, but also for authentication, so that you know that anyone that's publishing anything is actually the one publishing it, which builds a web of trust. And so now you have every content creator can build their own reputation, and it's still as anonymous as a cryptocurrency can be. And we'll be working on ways to improve that as well. So here you can see, maybe you can see it. Should I blow that up a little bit? Yeah, there we go. There's a deactivation here, which essentially just removes it from our front end. So the API will, on the front end, it ignores this, and that's the publisher's right to do that. And so if a publisher wants to remove something from our front end, then they can do a deactivation, and that will remove the transaction from our front end. But again, it doesn't remove it from the actual blockchain. So you can still look it all up. And here is an Alexandria media post, multi-part. So that's a split up transaction for media that was posted. And you can see it's a JSON object that has all of the metadata. So we have the title, year, description, and the extra info gets into the IPFS hash. So if I were to put this into my terminal, well, it'll probably make my computer freak out. But I can take that, go into the IPFS gateway, the Babel lecture. Oh no, I'm on VLAN. Don't go on VLAN? Oh, well there. So now you can see the contents of this IPFS folder, which has 3 different qualities for the MP3 so that we can make the front end decide, like the user can decide which quality that they want. There's a FLAC version because we are able via IPFS to stream FLAC and 4K video as well. And then there's album art. And so in that way, anyone who can look at the Block Explorer and read the Block Explorer can find anything that's been published, whether it's been deactivated or filtered in any other way. Again, our goal was to create a library that couldn't be censored and couldn't be messed with in any way. Any other questions? Yeah?
Do you have a solution for searching?
Yes. That's part of the index that we create with the database. And so, for example, I can type in my friend's name here, and it brings up a video that I published for him. Free Software is for Freedom Lovers. It's a talk that he gave at the Porcupine Freedom Festival a year ago, and what do you know, this one's actually going to work. So thanks to the glory of IPFS, I can just skip forward and bandwidth.
So you search the blockchain though?
It searches the database that's pulled from the blockchain. Yeah. And from that, that's what the search happens, and it's part of our APIs. It was playing a second ago. I decided to skip past the intro and screwed the whole thing up again. Any other questions? No? Cool. Well, thank you all very much. And yeah, check it out.
We have a 2 minutes break and then start.
Everyone stay here or get something to drink and come back.
Simon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the live stream. That one, and then we got to turn this off, too.
So it'll just be a black screen.
Yeah, that's fine. I can cut that part out.